Airplane pilots. What was your biggest we're all F-ked up moment that you survived and your passengers didn't notice? This was about 7 years ago. I had just gotten my private pilot's license the year before and felt confident enough to take my brother and 2 cousins up for a short sightseeing flight in a Cessna 172. Nothing major, just an early morning hop around the countryside before the weather rolled in later that day. I'd checked the forecasts and figured I had enough time to get us up, fly a loop, and get back down before it got sketchy. The first 20 minutes were exactly what I hoped for. Clear skies, smooth air, and the kind of golden sunlight that makes the farmland below look like a painting. The cousins were laughing in the back, snapping photos out the windows, pointing at lakes and barns and little clusters of trees. My brother sat up front with me, calm and taking it all in. Then the clouds started creeping in from the west, faster than I expected. The wind picked up just slightly, but enough to make me glance at the instruments more often than usual. Off in the distance, a faint flicker of lightning. That was the turning point. I told them we were heading back, kept my tone casual, like I was just wrapping up the tour. The airport was a small, uncontrolled field with a decent little FBO and a single paved strip. I radioed in to announce my return and got a transmission back from someone on the ground giving me a wind update. What they said didn't quite compute. I don't even remember the exact numbers now, but it was something about gusts and shifting crosswinds. I should have asked them to repeat it. I should have asked for clarification, but I didn't. Coming into final, I could feel it. The wind was cutting across the runway at a brutal angle. I tried to line up, adjusting constantly, fighting to stay on centerline. It was like wrestling the plane down, and the gusts were throwing me around enough that I finally called a go-around. The cousins in the back just thought it was part of the ride. I started sweating. My shirt was sticking to my back, my hands on the yoke were clammy. I reached over and switched off the intercom so the passengers wouldn't hear my breathing change, or the quiet, shit, 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 under my breath. I started forming a backup plan in my head, checking where I could divert if I had to. Second time around, I came in lower, slower, more deliberate. The rudder was pinned full left, trying to keep me straight. It felt like the plane was flying sideways. Everything in me was focused. One of those moments where you stop being a person and just become pure reaction. Somehow the wheels hit the pavement and stuck. A little bounce, but not bad. I stayed on the pedals, got it straight, slowed down, and pulled off onto the taxiway. When I shut the plane down and climbed out, the adrenaline hit me like a truck. My knees went wobbly and I had to steady myself on the wing strut. I stepped away from the plane and took a long breath. A huge, chest-collapsing sigh of relief. My shirt was soaked. I was still shaking when we walked inside. My cousins were grinning, talking about how fun it was. Not a clue. My brother gave me a look like he had an idea something wasn't quite right, but he didn't say anything right away. Later, after they left, I talked to him. Told him how close I came to bailing and heading somewhere else. Told him about the wind and how I was basically hanging on by muscle memory and luck. He just nodded and said, "Yeah, I figured it wasn't a textbook landing." Turns out a couple of the guys from the FBO had been standing outside watching me come in. One of them came up afterward and said, "We were wondering if you were going to try that again or smarten up and go somewhere else." I laughed, but only because I was still too shaken to tell him I'd been wondering the same thing. It wasn't until a few months later, during another crosswind landing lesson with my instructor, that I realized just how rough those winds had been. I probably had no business trying to land that day, but I didn't bend the plane, didn't scare the passengers, and I learned more in those 10 minutes than I had in the 20 hours before. My cousins still talk about that flight like it was just a fun little loop around the county, and that's fine by me.